I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I am done.
Yeah,
I've been like vomiting out both ends. My body hurts so bad. I can't get fluids down. I know this is a recipe for organ failure or death.
Welcome to Big Fish Stories, the podcast dedicated to telling the real outdoor stories of adventure, hunting, and fishing. For the outdoors men and women who get lost in the stories around the campfire, this is the place for you. My name is Tyler Hendricks, located in the great state of Idaho. Our guest today made his skill sets known in history's popular survival series, Alone, Season 9. And it's coming out on Netflix, right?
This summer.
It's coming out on Netflix.
Don't miss it.
This summer. This is his second time on the podcast, and I want to thank Mr. Benji Hill for joining us today. Benji, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me out, Tyler.
Of course, yeah. So tell me, we did a first episode and no one had seen Alone yet. Okay. It was kind of to help promote people watching Alone. So no one had seen it yet. Tell me a little bit about the experience. Now we can kind of dive into some of the individual experiences you had.
Right.
Maybe we start at the beginning of landing.
Yeah.
Landing and being alone. How was it?
Oh, it was a dream come true. I hate to say, like most people, I think probably would be terrified. I look at it like if you drop me off in any inner city, I would be more terrified. So it was like finally getting to do what I've always dreamed of doing. I mean, I moved to Idaho on a whim because I wanted to be in the woods. And here I am 30 years plus years later, getting to be dropped off to test myself in the ultimate challenge with and against yourself. Ultimately, how do you do in this landscape that you don't know and how long can you make it? So,
and is it true that they always are saying that Alone is that ultimate test?
It's legit. I mean, I told them, and maybe one of the reasons I got on was like, I'm not doing any other shows. I only want to do this, or I'm going to do it on my own because I want to have this knowledge. I want to learn from it. Inevitably, you're going to get broken down one way or the other, whether it's, mentally or nutritionally or a skill set you maybe are missing or overlooked. So you'll learn. And I wanted that adventure and that experience. So when I got dropped off and, the chopper's taken off, I mean, I was just like tears in my eyes and then like felt like throwing up. And then ultimately just this quiet calm that I hope everybody in their lifetime gets to experience, where like you just realize there's nothing going on but you. You can see it in some of the shows on HBO or whatever, where, man has been wiped off the planet and here these people are trying to figure it out. Just go into the woods for like a few days with very little stuff and no humans around. And wow, man, it's an awesome reset. Yeah. So I was super excited for what was going to be the reset. And, I had
tears like,
just ecstatic joy.
Okay,
yeah. Because the apprehension of this happening had been months and months building up, and then all the camera work, and I was sick before we went out. So I was afraid maybe I would have to let it go to be fair to another contestant if I wasn't well enough to do a good job, So all this emotion was on the plate. I didn't even eat for a day. I fasted a day before they dropped me off because I was so sick. I just wanted my immune system right. So I was already going backwards before I got dropped off. But once I got there, I knew I was like at home. It was quiet. There's animal tracks. There was forest that I didn't know when I was like a kid. I mean, I was just like, I cannot wait to get moving. And you know what I did? The first thing I did was stick to my plan, which was sit down, take my shoes off, get my feet in the sand. It'd been raining, so I just finally got to sit in the sun, and I made a cup of yarrow tea, which as I've been sick, yarrow tea is like all over these hillsides here in the spring and summer. And I show all the kids how to make it, and it's a great medicinal. And you know what? I felt better within 3 days. So
wow.
Just drank tea and fasted.
So you were sick going into it?
Yeah, a lot of us were.
Really?
Carrie Lee was, Igor was, I was, everyone else. A bunch of people had colds. We got it from a lot of the people that were helping us, I think, and ultimately just traveling and stress.
Right.
But also I got to take a little bit on myself. My diet going in to gain all that weight was horrible.
Oh, you gained like 30 pounds?
Yeah, but dude, I just redid it and I just hit 221 this winter and I didn't gain half the fat.
Wow.
So I can still hit 220, 230 lifting and eating a really good diet, but I cheated and ate a crappy American diet and that cost me immunity and cost me health and all kinds of stuff that I could get into on another deal, but I would never do that again. So I think I set myself up for ultimately what got me in the end.
Right.
By going in. So, which a weakened, gut and immune system. So I was sick going in, kicked it. And then I was partying from then on, for like 3 weeks, I was like living the dream.
And you stuck to what you said you were going to do.
That was
like right away. You were like, okay, I'm running in, I'm shooting arrows. I'm going to take over this area.
De-quivered multiple times, 9 arrows in the bush, looking for them for days because, Gretzky said you never make the shot you don't take, right? Squirrels were ducking arrows, rabbits, everybody was ducking arrows, and as I settled into my flow by week 2 and week 3, I was as lethal as I've ever been with my bow. Anything I saw, dead, but
it seemed like it.
It was that way. Some of them I miss, and that's still building into it day 17, but at day 20, I remember just like I'd see something and I'd just be like, thank you, whack.
Yeah.
Thank you, whack. Like it was like, I'm on point now.
Right.
And that's,
and
where
you found that fishing hole too.
Oh yeah. And there was a few more. So there was a couple other ones they didn't show that I had some really good bends in the river that when the water went down, they just stacked.
Wow.
So, I was eating fish daily, which in survival, the take is, you got to be a good fisherman, bass fisherman, bait fisherman, any which way you can do it. Active or passive fishing is the way to survival. So really knowing how to use your gill nets, which we couldn't, but in other seasons, you'll see them killing it with gill nets. And that's how people do really well in the woods.
Right.
So good skill to learn.
Yeah. And the big variable factor for a loan is kind of where people are dropped off. How did you feel your location?
I think I had the best location.
I think your location was
I'm not going to lie. I had this beach that was south facing and I had this beach that wrapped. So it went from like always in the sun. So I'd watch the sunset fishing one way and I'd watch the sunrise fishing another. I had these swamps. I had these beaver runs. I had a trapping area. Again, a big thing they go on with me is my lack of shelter ability. But if you've studied survival in any way, shape, or form, shelter just meets the time of year. Early in the season, I'm used to bivvying my whole fall.
Right.
So I never build a shelter anyway. So they make that look like I'm exposed.
Yeah, but the editing made it seem like, and I was kind of laughing going, oh, that's Benji. Because the editing made it seem like you jumped out, you whacked some squirrels, and then it just started pouring rain, and it was getting dark, and you're like, oh, I don't really have a shelter yet, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, and you know what? I was soaking wet, but I just went over, pulled off my stuff, and slept 10 hours like I've never slept before.
Right.
And I remember getting on my checkups, a few of the checkup-ees were a little, I guess, concerned with me. I heard feedback that, is he okay? Does he know what he's doing? Like maybe he's just too hardcore into hunting and gathering, and maybe should we be worried? And one of the gals that was helping us out was like, no, he's so in his element that doesn't even register. He's not afraid of bears.
Right.
He's not afraid of anything. He's so at home that he just sleeps under trees and he's just like having a ball. And honestly, that's, how I am. I'm showing my kids and I show kids at my camps, it's okay to be at home in these elements and just keep it as simple as possible. Whether you're sleeping under your canoe or just under a tree or, under a little rock pile, you don't need these huge homemade man structures. That's kind of where we're fear-based out there.
Right.
There's a place for that if you're going to winter out there.
Yeah,
but you don't need to burn you need calories far before you need shelter.
Right.
And then there's that trade-off where if you don't have a good shelter, you're burning a lot of calories.
Right.
But I would still do it the same tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would put calories in my mouth before I build anything.
And it seems like a lot of people's strategy is to focus intensely on the shelter because they know they have calories to spare.
And that's where that element is good. If you have a slow metabolism and body weight to burn, then maybe you lean that way. I'm a hard gainer. I'm generally 170, 180 without weights and good nutrition. So to hold 220, that's like a month.
Right.
And I'm down to 180. So I have a month to put food away. Then I got to have a secure trap line, a secure fishing idea. I need to tag big game.
Yep.
So
anyway. And it seems like too, a lot of those people who build the shelters and spend an exorbitant amount of time building that shelter and then start to focus on now I need to find food. It's a catch-22 because now they don't have the calories to spend to find the food.
Right.
And so yours is just reversed. Yeah. You're finding the food first and going, okay, I'm set. I know where I can find my food.
Yeah.
Then I can build my shelter.
Yeah. And then you know how much energy to allocate. So I'm not bashing anybody's shelter. I was amazed. They were some great shelters. Jesse's shelter, Tom's shelter, obviously Adam's shelter was like, I could live in that for the rest of my life.
Right.
Better than where I'd want to live.
Right.
But, without the food, you're going to come to this crux at day 40 to 50 where your body's going to start giving you problems.
Right.
So damned if you do, damned if you don't. Pick your strategy. I mean, I was really feeling good about getting a bear too. I mean, I had bear sign on the daily.
Oh, it looked like you had one more day.
I was there. Like literally one of my next projects after I just put some insulation on my wiki up, which it only took me 1 day to put that up. And I barely even insulated it, got the tarp on it. So I put 1 day into that. And then I was going to lay moss on it, get the insulation going. And then as it gets colder, you just lay more and more insulation till it's like a beaver dam. And I had a fire in there. So I was cruising on that. I was building a tree stand on this pinch point where this bear was going through every week. And then I was just going to sit it. So I had enough dried food. I had a whole shirt full of dried fillets, beaver meat, and a whole 32-ounce thing of beaver fat rendered, which was like 37,000 calories. I did the math. So I was just going to take all that and just sit in the tree. And I'm fasting now. I fast fine for 3 days. I was just going to sit there till that bear came through, stick that, render all that, and then go. I was going 100 days.
Oh yeah.
So my direct, they show me being hardcore, kind of one way or the other. I got bashed in all social media for the way they showed me. You know what? That's how I focus best. I'm really competitive. Even when I was powerlifting, I made the guy that's my best friend my enemy, and I'd just do better. And then we'd go have fun afterwards. Yeah. So I was just super competitive. I was driven to get my stuff together in day 30 to day 40. 50, I was going to be cruising, and then I was going 100, and I was going to break the record. That was my goal. Yeah. And I didn't.
When I watched it, I thought this guy's the most badass guy that I've seen in Alone because of your strategy and because I know you, but also because it was kind of like what I thought represented Idaho really well.
Well, thanks for all that. But there are some amazing candidates and credit.
Of course.
I'm fans of all the guys and gals who've done so well, Callie and Roland. I even threw Roland a shout out after, because I'm like, they made me look like I was coming at you. I just said I respected him massively. And that I just want to win. As my soccer record got beaten in high school, I went and shook their hand. And then I said, good luck breaking my deadlift record. You're never going to break 705, dude. And the kid just looked at me and goes, yeah, dude, you're nuts. And I'm like, yeah, so records are meant to be broken. And I'm the same way. If somebody's hunting a certain way, I'm trying to make it as challenging, So Roland said, no problems. He understood that I'm just that type of person. Humans are meant to push the envelope. Some of us.
Well, let's talk about the, I believe it was the first or second. I think it was the first beaver. That almost got away.
Oh, he did. Yeah. For real. Well, they showed that really well. Yeah.
Because I literally, when I watched that, I was like, there is no freaking way he's going to find that thing. No. Like I thought there's no way. That thing's long gone.
Yeah. So
and sure enough, tell me about it.
So that's a great point. Like super exciting, man. Like, oh man, I was really thin on food at that point, just like a half a fish a day and some berries, and some, the calories were low and some fish head soup. So I was plummeting a little bit and I knew it. And then when I saw that beaver coming to me, I didn't know he was there. I saw the sign, and next thing you know, the beaver is like coming down this little channel between the two. It's basically called a run. It's like 4 feet deep and it's like 30 yards away. Get an arrow on the string, drop to a knee, and draw. With a recurve, I'm holding, for like 10 seconds, and he comes around the corner, and I put one like basically nick his throat. So this is how it goes down. So I think I tagged it perfect. Pops up like a little ways away. Shoot another one. Now I'm panicking a little. I miss. Comes back close again, right in the side of the head. Like I'm just trying to put it down. I'm not looking for this thing to suffer, but unfortunately, with an arrow through its neck and its head, it goes out into the beaver pond into yonder land, and it's swimming out of my unit. So we have those GPS things that beep when we get close to our units.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so you can't track out of this 5 by 5 mile zone. And it happens to be at the end of the beaver. I've hit my wall a few times sneaking around, and it tells me to move a certain direction. So I know that's my border. And he's swimming towards my border. And I'm like, I'm going to lose him. So I'm like about to throw up. Anxiety is through the roof. I de-quivered trying to hit him as he was swimming out. So all my arrows are floating. I realized this is what the lesson is learned. Sometimes you got to trust that your shot was right and not panic. Like I know people have shot animals and then animal shoots up like a cow elk and they shoot another one.
Right.
And that's a real mistake. You got to really make that first shot count. And I knew that beaver was mortally hit. Hindsight being 2020, I should just calm down, which I finally did. And I realized he's not going to live. So let's just mark where he goes in. Did a really good job of marking it with this really big black spruce. And I knew this waterway to the main channel was on the backside. And I said, the only way I'm losing this beaver is if it makes it into that big channel. So I basically filled my boots, swam up to my waist, got around and got in that channel. And I just watched it till dark. And that beaver never made it over this hump into that channel. So I checked for tracks right at dark, never saw a slide, never saw fresh sign. So I thought pretty good. He tried to get up through these alders and passed away, or he's in there, so, you know, expired. Well, when I find him the next day, which was right where I'd left him, I crawled up one of these slides and he made it to the edge and expired. And that arrow was completely through his head. Wow. My broadhead was sticking out the other side.
Wow. I
mean, I could have made a better shot. Right, unfortunately, it still was such a tough animal. I mean, I was in tears at that moment, so ecstatic, screaming and yelling. So I got to go home, skin him. I don't know if I've done a better job processing an animal than that one. So I just nailed it with that, got him hung. The meat, I will tell you, fresh taken beaver for all those out there. And this goes for rock chuck too, in the high country. Really? Rock chuck is delicious. What? Eats just grass. I'm not talking about like eating chemical raised grains. I'll eat them up in the alpine meadows. Outstanding, dude. As good as prime rib or anything. It's really fatty, really good flavor. And the fat has no gaminess. I was eating spoons of the rendered fat with the cracklings, the crunchy rendered beaver chunk fats with salt because I brought salt. Anyone who bashed my salt thing, food tastes 1,000 times better and your morale goes through the roof.
Well, and you get electrolytes.
You do. Now, I probably overdid the salt because I was constantly dehydrated. So another thing I spoke to was that I was taking in all this salt. I was probably overdoing the salt. So I drink salt, but it's a lot of potassium chloride, and I wasn't getting enough potassium in my diet. So I was getting really dehydrated throughout the days. Anyway, the salt made the meat amazing. So fried beaver meat in its beaver fat, I suggest any true woodsman who hasn't tried it, try it, but fresh killed. So I've trapped beavers and the meat gets really swampy tasting, as does bear meat that's taken in like swampy areas in Alaska. I haven't enjoyed that meat, but fresh killed bear, beaver, and marmot will surprise you. And I was eating like a freaking king, eating 1,000, 1,500 calories a night, laughing my butt off, fasting all day so I wouldn't spike my insulin, just staying in fat burning. So you burn really slow. And then I'd have a really good meal for an hour. And I was just cruising. And that's almost, my wife said this to me yesterday. She goes, you were doing too well. You got a little sloppy with your meat handling and probably just got a little careless because you were feeling so good. And I was literally processing fish, squirrels, rabbits, and beaver meat. And you know, they didn't show another part of my adventure, which I tagged another beaver and I arrowed that one, rolled him cleanly through the neck, rolled him, swam out, got him in my underwear at dark, had another beaver hanging. So
I'm surprised they didn't show that.
I didn't have enough time. They said there wasn't enough real estate.
Gotcha.
So I was on cloud 9 and I only telling the stories because I had eating every day and dried meat. I had 50 to 60 days put away and I'm good fasting. And, you know, I really don't mind. I do it for fun, for my health. And that's normal to me. So that wasn't a problem. I still had as you saw, I had a good roll. And I came out and I still had a roll. So my body had pulled off a lot of muscle and a lot of fat, but I still had probably, I don't know, 10 to 15 pounds of fat on me, which is about, you're burning about a pound of fat a day. So there's another 15 days of just fasting. So if you look at the numbers, I was really feeling good. So that's why I was so heartbroken when I came out. And anyway.
So is your wife alluding to, it was ultimately a problem with some contaminated meat or something like that?
And we don't know what it was because I've been tested multiple times and I've had multiple gut issues since then, which I never had before. So just be really careful, obviously, with your meat handling. You know, I've been handling some predators and this and that. Been a lot better at doing that because I'm usually just in it and just wipe my hands and grab some meat, whether it's a lion or a coyote or whatever. It's just like, keep going.
Yep.
I'm way more cautious now because that was bad.
Gotcha.
Like, I've never been.
You were tested for Giardia and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I cleared it. I cleared it with no drugs. I have not taken an antibiotic since I was 18. I was sick for a while. I did some herbal cleanses after, and I think when I got retested almost a year later, I had no signs of any of the basic stuff through my stool samples. So body can handle it, but in the woods, I would have died.
Yeah.
I was so dehydrated, I would have died within a day or two for sure. The head medical guy was like, "You're a red flag right now. If more people come in like you, we're going to have problems because we're so far out there."
Wow.
So
gotcha. And so what were some of the, were there any other highlights for you that they didn't show on camera?
Let's see. Man,
Like
I haven't really revisited this, but
the fishing thing was crazy.
So I was so addicted
pulled out.
to, I caught 33 fish and I wasn't there 33 days.
Right.
And not all of them were very big. I think my biggest I measured out was 17 inches, but it was just this beautiful trophy trout. And it was catching it on a stick with a string and just like basically a hook fly with a little string on it.
Yeah, because they limited what you could use for, you pretty much were needing to use flies only, right?
Yeah, and it was real easy to use some paracord and just some fishing line. And just all you had to do is tie a little bit of colored string on there.
Right.
And they would hit anything because I don't think anybody fished these things.
Right. So having bait or not bait wasn't a problem.
You couldn't use bait.
Yeah, right.
So you didn't need to, but they would hit any fly. So I was dragging even like orange paracord with a hook as a floating fly, and they were hitting that. Granted, it wasn't every day that was going off, just like bass fishing.
Right.
But it was really good fishing. And it was so good that I would just burn myself up between like trying to fish. Then I would try and run and get my trap line covered so nobody would steal my bait, my squirrels or my rabbits. Then I'd try and get back and get water processed. And then I'd have another trap line. And then I'd go check my beaver ambushes. Then I'd go get firewood. Like, I just felt like I hadn't earned enough time in the day.
Right.
And this wasn't managing a kid, a job, a relationship, a dog. I still had barely any time like to just sit down and watch the sunset. I was just so busy.
Right.
And it was so fun to be that busy.
Right. And so well, maybe give us a little bit of a recap on, we touched a little bit on what finally took you out of it.
Yeah.
Which was a stomach problem that couldn't be figured out. How long did you last with that?
I think I made it at first. So hindsight, I like to learn and teach from all this. I'm fine being a whipping boy. I'm human, just like anybody else. Could I have done better? Could I have been more humble? Actually, I was very humble out there. They just don't show that at all. Well, they show me as the agonist to the whole thing, and then they show everyone else being like so gracious to the land. And they show me the one time I kind of shot a squirrel and was like, "Yeah, I nailed him." Right. Well, like I'd missed him like 7 times that day, so I kind of stepped out of character.
Right.
And then I was very humble to him, but like they don't show me being as humble as I think I was. And is the gratitude not as high as some people, but they wanted a character that I think that was different.
Right.
And so they used my moments of when I get fired up,
yeah.
which I have this character that likes to go do jujitsu and get choked out.
Right.
I think it's fun. And I like to lose and then come back.
Yeah.
I like Rocky stories, but not everyone likes to show that side of themselves or has it. So anyway, that's the one downside to my character on the show. It's not really as well balanced as I would like, but it's okay. It's a TV show.
Sure.
It's entertainment.
Yep.
I did make a lot of mistakes. One of which was I didn't keep my hands clean enough. You could very easily make lye from the beaver fat and ash and clean your hands. So could have done that. No problem. Touching your face. I touch my face all the time out there, not thinking about it.
Right.
And I was touching fish, squirrels, guts, organs. It's impossible to stay clean out there, but I could have done a lot better. And then hydration. A lot of those guys on the show were drinking unboiled water. I was almost at the ocean. So I was at the very bottom of all these runways. I just thought it was too risky to do that, even though I've drank tons of unfiltered water.
Right.
And I've never shown Giardia. I could have probably gotten away with it and done better with hydration. I think that would have helped me kick the bug when I first got it. So I started drinking the yarrow tea when I first started getting stomach cramps and feeling the digestion problem. And then I felt good. And I was still so excited about my trap line. I think I went out and did a run on both of them and came back and wicked dehydrated, drank a little bit of water and tea. And then the next day I was full blown. So I think hindsight, you feel a stomach bug, you pound the yarrow tea, you pound the willow or the birch bark tea. I didn't have that, but that's another good one. You get your body rested, you hydrate so you can flush that. And that's what basically cleared me when I went back to camp after I got ejected. They put me on IVs. I was able to drink again. I still didn't eat food for 5 days when I came out. I was 185. Yeah. And then I went in at 221. So I cleared it with fluids. Yeah. So the key is staying hydrated and keeping your hands clean and being able to recognize when maybe you should leave the trap line alone and maybe lose a rabbit and just keep, drink the fluids, get some rest, fight the bug. Right. And I didn't respect it enough and it got its hold on me. And once it gets a hold of you, whether it's bacteria or a parasite, you can't clear it. So,
So recapping what you could have done.
Yeah.
In a circumstance like that, it's better to be a little bit more cautious when you feel something.
Correct.
Take it a little bit easy. Make sure you're fully hydrated.
Correct.
Get water going through you. Don't try to push it, especially when you're talking about longevity. Because if you're a hunter or fisherman and you're just out on a couple day trip or something like that, worst comes to worst, you can make it back.
Yep.
But in a longevity like this, where you're trying to make it 100 days. Probably best to be cautious is what you're saying.
Yeah. Even if you're going out, let's just take this to the person who goes out for the day. If you don't have one of those in reach things or cell service, because I hunt in a lot of places, there's no cell service. You're an idiot. I'm an idiot for most of my life doing that because when I decided to tap, I barely could walk from my shelter 100 yards to the boat ramp to be picked up. I needed to be picked up to be put on the boat. Gosh, dude, I have some willpower and I thought that would take me a long way. Twice in my life, I got Montezuma's Revenge surfing in Mexico and this. And both times I've had to been carried to the toilet, to my bed, to the boat, to a bed. I mean, I was incapacitated. So imagine if you get this and you're out hunting by yourself. Yeah. You're not going to make it out. If you're on the backside of a mountain where we hunt and there's no access, you better have a way to get out. So don't throw your loved ones and yourself in the toilet. Yeah. Luckily, I was able to hit the yellow brick. 3 a.m. I'm like, come pick me up at 7. Are you sure? I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I am done. I've been like vomiting out both ends. My body hurts so bad. I can't get fluids down. I know this is a recipe for organ failure or death. Right. I got 2 kids. Forget it. Oh yeah. I'll take this battle on a clean slate. I learned my lesson. Right. So yeah, not totally happy with going out like that when I thought I was just like hitting my stride, but to everyone out there, welcome to life, right? And my kids, I think, will learn more from seeing me ultimately fail than seeing me cruise through the thing. I wish I would have stuck the first bear, the first beaver, cruise past 100 days, high-fived them, walked out. I wanted to build a gym, start working out, start lifting rocks, come out ripped, jacked at 175 pounds. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to still go do that shit on my own time. Sure. And hopefully show you the video and show everyone what my alone really looks like in 50 days. Yep, yep. But that's not going to be on History Channel. Right.
Well, you never know. Maybe they'll ask you back for like a what do they call it?
Who knows, right?
Yeah, I don't know what they call it.
Yeah.
They do it all the time on these series where they have people come back.
I'm ready to go. I'm not tapped out. I'm either going to do it on my own once the kids get a little older, but I'm going to do it in a hunting season where I can hunt big game, elk, bear, deer, grouse, and have some good fishing resources, whether it's Canada, Alaska, or here. But that's one of the videos I want to do is my own 50-day challenge. Right. So once my wife gives me the go ahead and she feels good, I'm going out again. Yeah.
So how often are they checking your health, all that kind of stuff?
That's probably a once in a week to once every 10 days. They're really good.
Do they get more and more frequent as you get farther?
They do more and more frequent, but they're not social. You're not talking. You are literally being evaluated. They check you on like a scope of 10 different things. It's not just BMI or weight loss. They are looking at your blood pressure, where your pulse is, your fluids, your oxygen. They do the oxygen. I guess they have developed this great parameter. So you feel really safe in that, curtain or umbrella or whatever it is, safety net.
Yeah.
They're looking out for you. They're not trying to hamstring you. They're going to catch you before you hurt yourself. But the same sense, you got to be able to call the ball like I did and not go another day.
Right.
You know, I'd like to have turned it around, but I screwed up and I knew that I had to just pull myself out.
Totally.
And I'm still okay with that part of the decision, even though I know 2 days earlier, I think I could have done better.
Yep.
And 5 days earlier, I know I could have done better handling all that game and stuff. So,
well, and what you went through is such a unique experience of solitude that a lot of people don't experience at all in this day and age.
Oh my God.
What was it like coming back into society?
Culture shock. Literally, when I hit Toronto, I had pure culture shock. It's the craziest, loudest airport. And I had to make this quick turnaround to catch my next flight. And I called production and was like, I can't make it. I'm literally going to go sit outside in the rain. I couldn't get it together. I had to do a COVID test. The amount of things we juggle in our day to day is insane, dude. And some people's day to day is just, the stress is going to kill you. So when I got back into that flow, I literally couldn't deal. I literally had to go get it in the hotel. I went and sat outside in the rain. I had to get my shoes off, reground. Then I was able to make it back the next day to Denver and back to Boise. And I was still just like, the noise was killing me. The electronics, seeing everyone on electronics was freaking me out. Having to use them again, I think it was throwing me off.
Right.
But man, if you feel like you're just not thriving in society, you have to integrate these natural retreats. And I want to figure out some way to incorporate more of those into my yearly training and programming for people. Give them these goat packing adventures, these experiences, how to balance this with our busy lives, and then how to like get off our electronics a little bit more. I mean,
it's so needed.
Oh, dude, I just felt so good. Like my pulses and my circadian rhythm was like, I could feel the energy pulsing in me. And I was doing some Tai Chi out there, which really harnesses that kind of stuff. And when you kick your shoes off and start doing that every day and it's that quiet, like you can all of a sudden like really feel the chi. And it's the first time I really started feeling amazing. It was more than just the food. It was just that I had this just peace, solitude, and just overall great wellness within. And yeah, I missed my family and I didn't show all that because I knew they would target that. I've seen them do it. So I wasn't, talking about my daughter. I just put them in the bubble and I would reflect with them on when the North Star came out. I would, connect with them energetically and know that they were okay. And a funny story, if I don't mind telling, was that I guess my wife, she's an acupuncturist, so she's into the energy stuff and all that. She was visualizing these golden showers on me at night of just this goodness and well-being. And when I got sick, she also had gotten sick. So she had stopped doing it. And I was like literally basking in the best time ever. And all of a sudden I just felt like, God. I was kind of like, I didn't know this, but I was like, I'm not doing well.
Right.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, I got this she got I'll think of it in a second, but shingles. So she had shingles. She couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
So she stopped, giving me this energy she believes to feel so good and just connecting with me and making me feel great.
Right.
And I don't know if that was a part of it.
Like, what'd you do?
But she said, oh my God, I feel so bad. Like I got the shingles and I was so messed up. I couldn't deal with anything and the kids, and you got sick on like day, whatever, 25. And I remember stopping doing that every evening. She would give me like a half hour of, just this meditation. And I would sit in my shelter quietly and just try and connect. And I would feel really good afterwards and wake up awesome. Well, I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Take it, leave it.
Right.
But I went out the same time she stopped.
Wow.
Giving me the little extra buffer of immunity.
Right.
So,
gosh,
I don't know. That's a story I haven't told.
No, I love it.
So weird stuff in this world. I like to know that there's maybe something else out there.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's where I think
we're all connected, whether we're not in the same room.
Right.
We're all connected in some way.
Right. Which is why the outdoors are so cool. Our relationships with each other, it's so good that we stay connected in these different ways. And I like to look for the mystical doorways.
Yeah.
That's something else I heard. Like that show opened up. That was a doorway. I just kept walking through it. Now I'm kind of stuck. I can't find what doorway to go through again, but I'm aware that one is going to open
Yeah.
somewhere. So I've got my feelers out in life where I go next. So,
yeah. And we all go through those seasons in life where you're just waiting for that door to open.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we're doing this. This will help me connect and channel some stuff and get into fishing with you and then talk about some more stuff that we got going on that's exciting coming up this spring and summer and obviously this fall. So,
And how long do you think it took before, because I was thinking about you. I do this gig every year where I go to Rodeo Houston. It's obviously not nearly what you're doing, but I'm going to Rodeo Houston where I'm away from my family for 26 days, something like that.
Well, that's legit.
And I came back and I felt a huge sense of displacement where I was like, my brain is still over there. And the people I was socializing with, I'm still connecting with them, but I'm not there anymore. And now I'm here and I'm back with my family. I'm needing to jump back into raising our kid and jump back into being a good husband. And I was literally thinking of you going, how much more of a crazy shift in perspective would that be coming back into a society? And how long would it take? It took me, I think, 2 weeks before I felt normal again.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how long that
I can say that I'm forever changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still have some issues. Like there's just times like I was at the ski hill the other day and I've just been trying to teach my kid how to ski and do her thing. And, you know, it's not my scene. And I just like the noise and being in the lodge, which I can't stand and all that. It's as grateful as I am. We have the resources for everybody.
Right.
Not against it at all. I just can't take it. I had to leave her with mom and I had to get in the car and I had to go out the canyon and I had to have a timeout.
Right.
I can't handle it. So I'm way more sensitive like that. I have a capacity and I know now when I go over it, I have to just eject.
Right.
If I keep going through it, I start to have some, I don't even know what to say. I suffer.
Some PTSD or
something. Yeah, like I just get a little, it's not even stir crazy. I just don't feel good and it carries on for days. So I have to get out of it.
Right.
I have to know and be mature enough to just say like, I'm not doing real well. I need to go back to the hills and just like settle down for a second. So I just went out, walked, took the dogs out, listened to some metal, got some circadian rhythms back, got some cold therapy helps me a lot. And then I come back and I can pick everyone up and they had a good day. And, you know, some environments, you know, just trigger me.
Right.
So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's electronics or noise or
just a lot more of that kind of stuff where people are going, I don't want to be anywhere near, you know, a router, Wi-Fi router, or I don't want to be anywhere near this or that. And it's becoming more and more of a thing where I think we're getting, especially people who are so used to nature and being grounded in nature, all of a sudden being in a different environment with different signals hitting them, they're actually noticing the effects on them.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is, but I can tell you that I've just had a harder time this winter than most. And I think it's because I've been in the population more with the little kid. We have the 1-year-old. So I've got to be more present than I have been with the family. And that balance has just been out of whack for me a little bit. So I haven't been getting in as much grounded time. So I think that's something people should consider who are especially susceptible to it like I am. I'm not super social. I do like being social like this and doing what I can do, but then I just redline. I just max out. So
because you're wanting to teach people and give them the experiences that you've had so that they can find some healing and growth. And it comes from nature. It comes from being in the outdoors. But at the same time, that's a balance because the more that you're in society trying to communicate to people, you all got to get in nature. Well, you're in society just by communicating with them.
Totally.
So you need to take breaks and you need to have a routine that you go through each day to keep your health and your mental state up.
Totally. So
what is that routine?
I'm still learning it. I don't have it hardwired. So I think it's a component of good rest, which I've not had the best, probably some of the worst in my life. So I'm less, my tolerance goes down, my ability. So that's been an issue. My exercise has gone up and my nutrition has improved. And I've learned what to work with and what to avoid and what works best with me there and what supplements really help me. So boom, I've improved there. My sleep's gone down. So I've also been, you know, supplementing with like ashwagandha, this Spartan complex. I'm a big fan of Lost Empire herbs. I'm you know, I do some repping for them with stuff that really helps me. So I've actually learned which supplements. They're all from nature. They're all plants. So pine pollen and all that really helps me out. Tongata with my testosterone.
Yep.
Keeping that
too.
So, I mean, I've figured all that. And when I don't take that, how I feel like my overall wellness, my positivity goes down. So when I can't get into nature, I have to have these supplements, right? I have to get my exercise in. I have to keep my strength up. I can't let my back injuries or my elbow injuries take me down. So I have to include acupuncture, body work. I have to know, like right now, I need a week off. My elbows are shot. I'm taping them.
Right.
I gained so much on all my lifts, but I can't do that exponentially.
You're looking great.
Thank you.
When I saw you at Jake's wedding, you looked skinnier.
For sure
Skinnier. And now you've looked just like almost like before, like when we last talked.
Yeah, I've kind of done a full roller coaster. Yeah, I got back to the strength training because I feel like that makes me hormonally happy, and I love having a base layer of that. So I'm not trying to hit, what I used to in my 20s when I was competing, but I've still hit some rep PRs and gained some strength in some new zones. And then it's helped my back, and then I feel better. But lately I've been pushing the dumbbells way too hard, and my elbows have just both blown up.
Gotcha.
And never had that problem, but I think again, that's diet.
You need some bass fishing to just like get some casts in, get some movement in those elbows, take a day off for just to catch some bass.
I need and turkey hunting too.
Yes.
Just doing some push-ups, just doing some tree pull-ups. I bring a little kit of bands and stuff just to bang reps, blood flow, more just feeling good.
Yeah.
So I need to get out of this strength cycle here for a little bit, probably.
Do you dive into any mushroom supplements?
Oh yeah.
Or anything
That's
like
all I
that?
drink for breakfast.
Okay.
So I don't have any calories, but I drink, anyway, it's a mushroom coffee. It maybe has 40 grams of caffeine in it. And then I don't add any calories to it. I just drink that straight, and I throw some chaga in there. Yeah. Which is what I was looking for out there, but I didn't have any good birch forest.
Right.
So that really helps my brain, especially for something like this where I got to be able to think and pull up names.
Yeah. I've just started dabbling into the mushrooms for gut health and for some mental clarity. And it's only been a few weeks, but I am completely sold. Now I'm going, okay, what else am I missing that I need to start incorporating? Because before, even for sleep, I'd be like, oh, yeah, CBD, like that's what I'll take. And now I'm realizing it's so much more than that.
And to each their turkey tail is great. That's anti-cancer. I've given that to dogs before. My old lab.
I guess you have your own company. So.
Oh no, that doesn't matter. Okay. I'm an affiliate at Lost Empire Herbs. You can get a discount there. They're awesome. They used to be a
discount code.
Benji Hill.
Okay.
And you can get a discount there, but I'm going to start doing more if like your guy will help me. What I take, because I still want to stay lean and muscular. I don't want all my hormones to plummet as bad as they were going, especially when I was out there. I came back, I couldn't get any leanness, any size back. Once I got on the mushrooms and they do the same thing. They have a mushroom tincture. I've experimented with all of them, and you know what? I haven't found anything that doesn't work. I mean, I kind of like, I might be a little too into it. Sometimes my wife's like, you have like 20 things you're taking. She's like, are you still fasting? I'm like, well, I'm fasting, but none of this affects blood sugar. I
tell my wife, because sometimes she goes, do you think some of this could be a placebo? And I'm like, I'm fine with placebos. However I can trick my body into functioning the way that I want, I'm fine with it. But
so I would suggest
major benefits.
I would suggest picking an avenue and then experimenting with the avenue. Like if it's a hormone avenue or a sleep avenue, maybe don't do everything at once, because it's hard to figure out, with elimination. Right. Like if you've done or heard of Whole30, it's basically like pretty strict elimination. Right. Which I like because it's not just keto. You can have potatoes and such. Right. But you can figure out what you don't respond well to. So even with supplements like tinctures and mushrooms, try and start with a few so you can eliminate what works, what doesn't. Don't just do what I got too far into everything.
And I got stuck with, I started doing a lot of the On It supplements, which are like the day packs and the night packs. That are jam-packed, filled with great things. But I couldn't figure out what was working and what wasn't. Because it was just all at once. I'm taking all these things and I'm covered. But I wanted to know what is actually helping and what do I not need at all?
Correct.
And so now I'm back into slowly adding things that are beneficial to my health, especially for me, since most of my job is so mental. My mental clarity needs to be on point.
Yep.
So everything is about how is my brain functioning today, which I'm realizing if you're physically not feeling good, if your body's not doing good, then mentally you're not going to be doing good either.
Right.
So now I'm finding it's a lot of,
yep.
If I'm taking care of my body and taking care of my mind, then I feel like I have the best mental clarity. And you're 100% right about fasting.
Okay.
Fasting gives you the best mental clarity. And,
and
I can't believe I didn't discover that at an early
and there's so many ways to do it. So again, if I come off like I did on the show, like preaching or like I'm super confident, it's just because I really believe in it. And I really believe in myself in a lot of ways. And that's what came off in the show. But with these supplements, you're giving it away up to, I don't even know, 30% if you're not using these optimally, which is a ton as we age.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, start learning some facet of this stuff and experiment with it.
Yeah.
And there's nobody, I don't have it all figured out, but I can tell you hands down, I would not go into the woods without my salts.
Right.
I would not live on this planet without my supplements right now. I'm such a better version of myself. I'm more patient with my kids. I'm stronger in the gym. I recover faster. I eat better. I think better. I mean, the list goes on. Why would you be less than optimal?
Right.
Right. So I don't know what that is for each person, but I can tell you some pretty good places to start.
Right.
And, I just counseled my brother on this, who's doing great with his stuff, working out, health, but we put him on all this, reducing cortisol is a huge one. If you're going to work hard, you got to sleep well and reduce cortisol and eat well. That's being optimal. So you can handle a high workload.
Right.
If you're going to lift like I like to, how do I recover faster? I'm not 20 anymore, but my testosterone's better be 600 plus.
Right.
And I'm going to get it checked on this next wave of supplements. And I can tell you some ways to do that and see if you're a responder to some of the things that we are using.
Right. A good conversation I'll talk about. I haven't talked about it on the podcast yet because I'm still devastated about it. But you and I had a conversation at our buddy's wedding where you had heard about the elk that I had put an arrow through and searched for it all season. And I was honestly a little bit like, I don't want people to know about this. This is gut wrenching for me. Like every day, and that was way past hunting season. What wasn't it?
Yeah. We were in
way past hunting season. And it was gut wrenching for me. And when you told me like, hey, I heard about what happened and I heard about the way that you continued to pursue that animal and you pursued it all the way till the end. And didn't shoot another animal. You literally tracked and pursued that animal the entire time. It was so much more helpful than someone just giving me shit about hitting an animal and wounding it and not finding it.
Yeah. I respect you 1,000 times more than if you had accepted defeat and just went and shot another animal to gratify the hole in your heart,
right?
Which happens to everybody now.
Oh,
I dinged 1, 2. I've heard of people dinging 3 animals and then they finally got that third one and then they felt better. Sorry, folks, this isn't about feeling better.
Right.
This is about doing what's right. And I'm guilty too.
Yeah.
But what you did was correct. Could you have made a better first shot and all that?
Of course.
Who couldn't?
Yeah.
I could have on the beaver. I could have on this thing the other day. I mean, I could have on my muzzleloader elk this year. I put a good shot on her, but was it as good as I could have done? No, I could have taken one more breath. I had time and I could have put her a little lower in there and I wouldn't even had to take a step. She would have been tipped over.
Right.
So I rushed it too after 30, 40 years of experience.
Right.
So being, doing the right thing is not always easy. And I respect you massively for doing the right thing. And I've done that same thing.
Yeah.
And it was a hard pill to swallow hunting to the end, knowing I stuck an elk in the neck. He broke it off. He was fine. He was bugling at the end, but I did not punch my tag on any other elk.
Right.
I tried to complete the season with that. I hopefully think he was taken in rifle season and somebody found my broadhead in the vertebrae in his neck, which was a horrible, horrible whiff on my part and a really bad judgment call on my shot.
Yep.
Not like yours, worse than yours.
Yeah.
So
heartbreaking. Yeah.
Biggest bull I've ever had a shot at. I dinged. Going down.
And I kept running through the story in my head of the bear that you shot that came back later and you got another shot on it. It literally kept running through my head the entire time of I could get another shot at this.
Yes.
And for those that don't know, I shot an elk. Well, no one knows because I haven't told anybody on the podcast. I shot an elk. I had an elk. I called it in. The whole hunt was perfect. Literally the perfect hunt.
Oh man.
Lightning and thunder, rain. It was one of the best hunting experiences I've had. I had two friends I had a friend and his son were in front of me and I was calling for them. And they're definitely new to archery hunting and elk. And this day was so perfect. We called in, I don't even know how many different herds of elk with bulls in them, but they were all smaller. But who cares?
Yeah.
He would have taken anything. They're coming in left and right, and he's spooking them out of this canyon left and right. And literally, it was. And
you're like, no,
yeah. It was one of those days too where I'd hunted this area over and over, but we hit it the perfect day, and all of these elk, I can watch them coming in over the ridge into the forest that he's in. I happen to be up a little higher. And I could see these elk coming from clearings or coming from forests and all funneling into this canyon. And up top, I saw this big, massive bull elk. Couldn't tell if he was a 6x6 or 7x7, but he was a big bull elk.
Heavy, big. End of story.
You could tell he was the king of the castle. He was looking down the entire time. He'd throw out a bugle every once in a while, but he was watching all of these elk funneling into this canyon and getting kicked out. And we're moving through the forest, kicking out these elk. And I kept telling my friend and his son, I kept saying, there is a huge bull elk up there that has been watching this entire thing. And he is ready to
perfect storm.
He's ready to kick some ass.
Yeah.
And so we keep moving up. And eventually they got tired and they wanted to take a lunch break. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We don't have a lot of time here because he's going to get bored. So I just kept moving up, and it was maybe only 300 yards I moved up above them, and I see him through the forest coming at me. He's got a giant bush on his head from raking the bushes, and it's covering his face. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get a perfect shot on this. I did a call and tried to move to the left so I could get a good shot, and he must have heard me moving because that's where he decided to go, and he just went directly at me. I never got to pull back. It was like once he went through this clearing, it was just pure right to me. So I waited, I put my bow in front of my face and just waited, and the wind was almost non-existent. It had been raining. And so I just was like, I'm going to let him go right past me before I pull back, which was probably the big mistake because I don't think he could see me with that bush on his head.
Yep.
But he could right when he passed me, and I let him pass. He almost brushed past me.
That's
how close
so
he was.
Cool.
It was the coolest.
What an
experience.
encounter.
Oh, it was amazing. I pulled back right as he passed me, and I was looking out of the corner of my eye to see if he saw, and he caught me.
Yeah.
And he whipped around to about 35, 40 yards. I was right on this log, and as I turned, the log broke and my arrow went flying.
God, that's right.
When I was at full draw, I was turning like this and I was leaning back on this. It was a weird position because I couldn't quite move my feet, but I could move my upper torso to get the shot that I wanted.
Yep.
And right as I did that, the log that I was leaning on broke and my arrow flew. And I thought, miss, like total miss. What a stupid shot. What a stupid experience. And my buddy at this point heard all the commotion and he comes to me and he goes, dude, nice shot. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, there was blood going down the side of it.
Oh no, you're just like.
And I thought that can't have been a good shot. Like no way at 35 yards, 35 yards and me it wasn't even a flinch. It was literally like fell on my ass backwards after the shot went.
Oh my gosh.
So we go find the arrow. There's blood on the arrow, but I can tell it's not the good blood that I like. It's not bubbling. It's just and it has little chunks of meat in it. And so I'm going, okay, we'll see. There's some excitement level because he did say there was a streak of blood going down, but where he described it, I'm like, it's above the lung. Like it's too high and a little bit too far back probably. Oh. And so we tracked this thing I tracked it the entire day. They ended up going home and I just kept tracking it and kept doing everything I could, trying to follow its tracks, but it started pouring rain. little drops of blood here and there that we were able to mark, but the rain was so bad it washed it away pretty quick. And then we were just following tracks, just following tracks in the mud. That elk's intersecting with other herds' tracks, and then I'm trying to figure out which tracks are the ones that he's has. And, I mean, you've been there.
It's hard.
And I tracked this thing for 3 days. Finally found him 5 canyons away. Totally, well, I don't know, totally fine. I'm sure he's feeling sick. But 5 canyons away, herded up with some cow elk, and he was rutting. He was pushing them around, moving them. And I did one bugle thinking maybe he'll respond to the same bugle. Nope.
Okay. Note to self. He knows that you stung him. He's out of there, right?
Gone. Yeah. And I tried to make it sound like a different bugle.
That's all right.
But I made that. I know it. I know because of how many times I bugled to him, there was no different bugle I could do. He had heard it all. Yeah. And so the bugle that went out, he immediately turned and left the herd. Didn't want anything to do with that bugle. Yeah. And after I shot too, the craziest thing, after I shot, he did this giant semicircle around me. Super slow, still bugling, still raking the ground. That's why I thought I missed. Yeah. Because I was like, I'm going to get to actually take a shot at this. He was
so enraged.
He was enraged. But then I could see he was like, oh, something's not right. Yeah. And he went up and over the ridge. So I literally hunted him the entire rest of the season up until the last day. And I saw him on the last day and he looked totally fine. He definitely had like some scar tissue around that area, but he looked totally fine. And I was in the same boat of thinking, I hope that he can make it through the infection phase or that he gets taken during rifle season. Yeah. That's all I could hope. But I spent up until the last day looking for him.
Well, that's like, we can only do the best we can do, but that's the best you can do in that circumstance.
Yeah.
Some of the mistakes, not for you, but others I've seen are not to you, just, to give up. I think one of the other ones is if you hit that animal poorly on the first shot, at all costs, I think you try and get a second arrow into it. And I've recovered some animals with like a butt shot at 50 yards with a longbow, you know, so that's a good one. If that animal stops out there, and it's usually unethical to take a long, poor shot, but if you know you hit him in the guts and it's mortal or below, you didn't have that. So this isn't to you.
No, I wish I would have known that.
I know exactly. Yeah. So once you knew that he was probably wounded, going after him and tracking him is the correct thing to do. Right. And then it's just like, okay, knowing that he'll probably not respond well to the same calling. So stalking's probably your best bet, or have somebody else come and call for you. That sounds totally different.
Yeah.
But even then, that's not your fault or a mistake. He might have come in, he might not have. And when he runs away, you go, oh, that was wrong.
Right.
But next one that was wounded could come in, you know? So
it was an incredible learning experience for me on all fronts.
Yeah.
And it was definitely an incredible learning experience for me to know I need to have my shot, that first shot, because he was so enraged.
Yeah.
This is what killed me.
Yep.
Is after I made that shot and didn't know that I hit him, I then realized, oh, he wasn't going to go anywhere.
Yep.
Like he was still, I could have called him in before my shot. Yep. I could have called him back in, no problems.
Right.
But it was like that panic set in.
Same.
Of going, I got to make this shot, and not focusing on, hey, get your feet out of these logs.
Yeah.
Don't try to make a weird pivoted shot that you don't normally make. And if he runs away, you can go after him tomorrow. That was a huge learning experience for me to go, yeah, the elk is still going to be in these canyons somewhere, and I may get another shot. It doesn't have to be right now in a precarious situation.
That's the really level 5 maturity to do. I don't know if I've quite made it there. I'm close,
right?
Because I have made some good calls, but I've still made some bad calls because I want that success and I want to close that chapter. And I know now's the time, but I push that pressure,
right?
And I pushed that shot when I could have just been a little more patient, or just had the ability to say, hey, there's tomorrow. There's this next hunt.
Right.
But I think just one little tidbit that I've also learned for turkeys and elk and things is drawing when their heads are behind the tree or the bush. And the best thing you did was set up where, and luckily it came through, where you have something between you.
Right.
So many times people, set up and there's just a meadow between me and where that elk's coming out.
Right.
If you have a decoy or anything, they're just going to hang up at 50, 60 yards and be looking at you. But you had that terrain in there to work with. You had some cover to draw behind, you know, maybe just having drawn your bow as I do with my recurve get back or longbow when their head goes through and they come out and you can still move and they'll maybe stop, or the turkey will put his head up.
Right.
The elk will stop and maybe look at you. And you can also say, yo, without a mouth call.
Right.
Yo.
Yeah.
They just stop and look, punk, dead still shot. Or you say, hey, my feet are wrong, I can't do it.
Yeah.
He'll run out to 20 yards, yo him again, or cow call him again. He might give you a frontal, you know, or you don't get him. But hey man, I've learned so many of those from screwing those up myself, but you did you did the best you could do. And that's massively commendable. And you didn't punch your tag on him, but you did do the right thing. And you didn't punch a tag on another animal. Right. So
exactly.
Everyone out there, that's massive respect.
And for my own mental sanity, I literally punched my tag on the last day after I spotted him, and I realized that, and it was so, there was a part of me that was like, this whole experience can't be all coincidence, because the spot that I saw him in, on the very last day happened to be the same canyon that I shot him in the exact same spot that he walked over and left me. That's where he appeared again. But this time it was like he was wiser. Like he popped up over the canyon, caught me completely out in the open, never made a peep at me. Yeah. But he heard me. This time I was just doing some cow calls. He caught me wide up out in the open, walking around. I was moving and looked up, and I'm like, he's been watching me. Yeah. Like he's got me. This is literally, it was my last day. I had 1 hour left. He ran up and over the thing, and I was like, I'm just going to punch this, because it was a meaningful experience, and I wish it would have ended different. Yeah. But it sets me up really good for this year.
Yeah. And so one other thing I've done for closure with something like that is, then I used to not rifle hunt. I used to despise rifle hunting, but then I found it fills another niche, and I teach people how to do it right. I now better, and I know how to shoot better. And I do really enjoy rifle hunting now. You can now befriend somebody who has that tag, help them maybe harvest that great bull and get some closure for yourself. So I've done that with people where then I give up my ability, but I help somebody else maybe go after an animal that I didn't mortally wound, but I had a bad experience with, like the one I shot incorrectly in the neck. We didn't close that chapter, but I felt good helping somebody and get in the woods. If I found him dead, maybe I could get some closure. If I help him harvest or her harvest, at least I'm, feel like I'm still in the game.
Yeah. That's great advice.
And then actually I found out with the one of my animals that he was thriving, and, a neck shot on a bull with a 2-blade broadhead and vertebrae didn't really hurt him that bad. Like in the chest, done. Neck, shrugged it off, same bull, was fine in October. So I had a pretty good idea that he was going to make it through. Anyway, those are some ideas that have helped me with that. I think we're all going to go through them and continue to go through them. So how we manage that and don't chase punching more animals or more tags isn't always the solution. It's getting closure on that one and sticking with that animal through the season, and trying to do your best to harvest it if you can, obviously.
So wrapping things up, what are some life experiences that you took from your experience on Alone?
Wow. Well, I mean, that's where the real wins were, not the best thing that happened. And sadly enough was that it didn't go the way I wanted it to. It went a lot how I wanted it to, but like life experience, you can plan life. You can plan it to go this way. You can plan to make this job work or these experiences with people work, but ultimately you only control this small bubble. And I've got to believe that I could do it, which was awesome. I got to drink the Kool-Aid. I got to know that I have the skills and the mental capacity and the fortitude, but life just dished me the card that I didn't see coming. So the greatest lesson I learned was that you don't always get what you want. And they did capture me saying that on there. I said, you think you get what you need. And I didn't need to win the show to get my best experience. I could see how I could win the show. But to me, the getting the kick down and having to pull myself back up over this last year and a half has been made me a stronger character, made me more ambitious, made me realize some of my weaknesses, maybe be even more grateful for the things that I have, my health being the main one. I mean, everyone thinks health is just this thing. It's the most powerful tool you control.
Oh, yeah.
What you eat, what you don't eat, what you pass up, how you drink your fluids, what supplements you take, how you treat your body is up to you. You can't make anyone else do that. You have to make that decision. So I've really got my game back together with that again, and realized that at coming into 50 here, next few years, I'm going to shoot for being my best ever in my 50s. Not just, you know, I'm doing the best I can, not if, not I hope, not I'm doing whatever it is I'm capable of doing. I'm doing it to my best. If it's more of this or more of that, I don't know where it's going to be. It's definitely not going to be just breaking deadlift records or what I can bench. It may just be reps. It may just be, you know, being happy with where I'm at, but still pushing the envelope to be healthier and learn more. So that's the greatest life lesson I got out of the show, was that, you know, life's going to knock you down. You can have a plan, great, but be pretty much expecting that the plan isn't going to come out exactly like you want, and be ready to deal with that and learn from it.
Right.
And that's what I got out of the show.
That's awesome. And what do you have planned for future endeavors?
Well, I want to give back more. So a lot of my teaching is going towards the youth. I take the outdoor Hispanic community ice fishing today. So the kids I take out, they've never even been fishing. So we're going to try and catch some fish while the ice is thick. I help with them. I help with a lot of the kids camps. I run my own kids camps. I'm going to start doing some more adult adventures. I've signed up to do higher ground with the vets. We're going to take them hunting and training and teaching them how to explore the backcountry and be healthy. And then I'd also like to take some more people just on to some reconnect type adventures. So trying to give back more. We're also starting a Mule Deer Foundation chapter here. So we're all going to have to get involved in that and try and give back to habitat and working with ranchers and wintering grounds. So that's new for coming up this year. I think our first banquet around here in the Wood River Valley, Ross is going to set it up, is in mid-June. So we'll get that all out, and let's try and give back to these animals that just took a beating this winter and do something positive. Because in the next 2 and 3 years, we're going to see the mule deer numbers pretty wrecked. I've never seen so many dead fawns as I did this year in the backcountry. So
that's tough to hear,
but that's what we're dealing with. So what can we do? We can all gripe about it. We can complain about regulations, which we don't have really any control of, or we can improve habitat. We can be more selective with what we harvest. And maybe this next few years, we hold ourselves to some different standards. We are really good about what we do in the backcountry, whether we harvest or not, or maybe we eat a tag this year. Maybe I don't shoot a mule deer this year. Maybe I just take a cow elk and that's my season. So everybody can think about that on a big winter like this, being more respectful to the wildlife and being really cautious here coming into spring with shed hunting about not pushing the animals more. It's not about us. It's not about that we had a long winter. If you had a long winter, then you probably fasted a lot. Oh, wait. We had everything we needed. The animals fasted a lot. They need a couple months to get back on their feet. So leave those sheds alone if you're pushing animals, and, you know, go somewhere else, or just, like we said, abort the plan. Right. The plan was to go hike all day. Well, if you're pushing animals all day, you're just doing that for yourself. Totally. And it's not worth the money and the stress on the animals. So eat it, go somewhere else, stay off the south slopes until they can get some more, you know, food and stuff in them. So that's what we got to do as mature hunters. And hopefully you guys, the younger hunters, can realize that and save the glory photos and all that till later. And, you know, we'll get out on the bears when the slope and the snow clear in another month or two. So.
Right. And bear season's coming up.
Yeah, it's open somewhere. It's open in the wilderness areas and open in 32 and 22, but, you know, we're going to have to wait another month here to get out. But
yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for coming on. Yeah, this is great to recap, and we'll do a lot more.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, that was good.